So, I want to explore something really cool today. We're going to look at two wildly different stories. One's a huge Hollywood blockbuster, the other is a modern sermon, and see how they both wrestle with the exact same age-old question. How do you protect what's good when you're up against an evil that threatens to end everything? We're going to look at their playbooks, one physical, one spiritual. Okay, let's get into it. So first up, you've got this epic blockbuster scale. In the film Noah, the threat is just total. It's all-encompassing. The creator has looked at humanity, made a judgment, and the sentence is a flood to wipe the slate clean. A hard reset on a world that's gone wrong. I mean, the stakes literally could not be higher.
But then you flip the coin, and we land on a totally different kind of battlefield. The sermon here frames the fight not as some global disaster, but as this quiet, invisible war that's fought every single day inside our own heads and inside our own homes. It's not a flood. It's a personal, spiritual siege.
So here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at how both of these sources see the world and what's wrong with it. Then, we'll try to define the enemy they're facing. After that, we'll compare the fortresses they build, the weapons they use, and finally, and this is the big one, the critical human choice that sits right at the heart of both stories.
All right, first things first, the setting. Because, every big fight needs a battlefield, right? And for both of these stories, the starting point is the same dark place, a world that is fundamentally, deeply broken and pretty much begging for a reset.
And wow, the film Noah does not pull any punches here. I mean, we're not just talking about a world with a few problems. This place is completely off the rails. You've got the descendants of Cain running the show, and their whole philosophy is might makes right. Animals are just being slaughtered for fun, the earth itself is getting stripped bare, mined for every last resource. The cities are just these ruined husks where everyone is desperate and violent. It's this total breakdown that leads Noah to say that gut punch line, "We broke the world." That's the whole reason for the flood. The world is just too far gone.
Okay, so the world is a mess, but who's the bad guy here? This is where our two sources start to go in different directions, and it's really fascinating.
And this is where it gets really interesting when you put them side by side. On the one hand, in Noah, evil has a face. It's a guy named Tubal-Cain and his armies, and his whole motivation is just raw greed. I'm going to take what I want. It shows up as violence, armies, cities being destroyed. But on the other hand, the sermon talks about an enemy you can't see, these spiritual forces. And their weapons aren't swords, they're things like fear. And it shows up inside of you as depression, addiction, or just that awful tension in your home. One is an army you can see, the other is a presence you can feel.
I mean, listen to Tubal-Cain. It's so straightforward. It's all about raw power, numbers, armies. He is the walking, talking embodiment of humanity's corruption, a physical force you could meet on a battlefield.
But then, the sermon hits you with this verse, and it just completely flips the script. It says the enemy isn't human at all. The fight isn't against other people. It's against these unseen spiritual forces. And that just reframes the whole idea of what a battle looks like.
So you've got these two very different enemies, which means you need two very different kinds of fortresses to defend, right? Each story gives us a sacred space that has to be protected, no matter what. For Noah, the fortress is about as literal as it gets, a gigantic ark made out of gopher wood. Its job is simple but huge. Be a ship strong enough to ride out the storm and save the innocent life, the animals, so creation can get a second chance.
Now, for the sermon, the fortress is your own home. But not just the bricks and mortar, we're talking about a spiritual space. And the argument is that this fortress isn't attacked by armies, but it can be weakened from the inside by things like fear or sin, which basically leaves the door wide open for the enemy to just walk right in.
Okay, we've got our enemy, we've got our fortress. Now for the big question. How do you fight back? Let's talk about the weapons.
For Noah, the weapon isn't a sword. It's a hammer. His entire strategy is this one massive, all-consuming act of construction. The Creator gave him one job: build the ark. The whole defense is based on labor, wood, and a lot of pitch.
And then you look at the sermon's arsenal, and it's a total 180. It's not about what you build, it's about what you say. The sermon lays out these 5 scriptures that you're supposed to use like weapons, spoken declarations to fight fear, to claim protection, to tell the enemy to get lost. Here, the weapon is the word of God, spoken out loud with authority.
Okay, and this is where it all comes together. This is the point where these two completely different stories meet in the middle, and it's kind of mind-blowing, because when all is said and done, it all boils down to a single human choice. So think about this.
Noah's done everything he was told. He built the ark, he survived the flood, and he's convinced the story's over. He thinks humanity had its chance, it failed, and now his job is to see that judgment through. But then, his granddaughters are born on the ark, and he's stuck with this impossible choice that God didn't give him instructions for. Does he choose justice, or does he choose mercy?
And his answer is just so powerful. This world-changing decision doesn't come down from on high, it comes from his own heart. He looks at them, and he chooses love. He chooses mercy. And with that one choice, he gives humanity a future.
And unbelievably, the sermon puts that same kind of choice right in your lap. The argument is, you can just sit there and passively accept all that spiritual heaviness and oppression in your life and in your home, or you can make an active choice to stand up and fight back with the weapons you've been given.
And that's the bottom line here. You have to do something. Victory isn't automatic. It all depends on a person choosing to use the tools they have. The question isn't whether the weapons work, it's whether you're willing to pick them up and fight.
So when you step back and look at the big picture, the parallels are just, wow. You have a broken world, a fortress that needs defending, and a clear game plan for that defense. But the thing that really ties the Hollywood epic and the local sermon together is this idea that divine power and human choice are completely linked. The outcome of the battle hangs on what a person decides to do.
Which leaves us with one big question to chew on. Whether the danger is a literal army banging on the door or an invisible enemy trying to get in your head, both of these stories seem to say that the fight for what's good is never a spectator sport. It demands a decision. It demands action. So, is that the secret ingredient? In any fight against evil, big or small, is our own choice the one weapon we absolutely can't do without?